Tonight, somewhere in your home, you will walk into a dark room and your hand will find the light switch before your brain has even decided to look for it. Maybe you will feel it on the stairs instead, or in a hallway. A small, cold prickle on the back of your neck, a sudden certainty that the darkness behind you is not quite empty. And you will tell yourself you are being silly. You are not. That feeling is not a weakness, and it is not childish. It is one of the oldest and smartest survival programs ever written, and it has been running without a single day off for 2 million years. So why is the cleverest animal on the whole planet still so frightened of the dark? Start with an uncomfortable fact about your own body. You are a daytime creature. Out of every 5 mammals alive on Earth, 4 of them come awake at night, built for it, with eyes that drink the smallest scrap of light. You are the odd one out. Your eyes are gorgeous machines for a sunlit world, packed with cells for color and fine detail, and very nearly useless the moment the light is gone. You think your eyes just need a minute to adjust in a dark room. They never truly do. After nightfall, your single greatest weapon, your sharp daytime sight, quietly switches itself off. So what waited for us out there, every night, the moment our eyes went dark? The answer is the part we would rather forget. Nightfall is exactly when the things that ate us woke up. Long before we ruled anything, we were prey. The big cats that hunted our ancestors were built for the gloom, with eyes that gathered the faintest light and turned the black into a clear hunting picture, while we stood blind right beside them. A cat's eye gathers roughly 6 times more light than yours. So in the same gloom where you saw nothing at all, a leopard saw a clear, lit path straight to your throat. It could watch you from 10 feet away in the dark, and you would never know it was there until it moved. How do you fight a thing you cannot even see coming? We have the proof buried in the ground. Ancient human skulls turn up with the curved puncture marks of big cat fangs sunk into them. One of the most famous is a small skull found at a place called Taung in southern Africa. It belonged to a child who was not yet 3 years old, killed almost 3 million years ago, and the talon marks gouged into the bone around its eyes show exactly what took it. A giant eagle, dropping out of the sky. For most of our story, our species spent its nights not as the hunter at the top, but as the hunted at the bottom. When the sun went down, we were on the menu. So the fear was never a malfunction. The fear was the entire point. Now picture 2 of your distant ancestors, lying in the black, when a branch snaps somewhere out beyond the firelight. The first one jolts awake, certain it is a predator. Most nights, he is wrong, and he has spent a little jolt of fear on nothing at all. The second one shrugs, decides it is only the wind, and goes back to sleep. On almost every night, the calm one is right. But on one single night, it is not the wind. The calm one is gone, and his entire family line goes with him. Which one are you descended from? You already know the answer, because you are here. You are the grandchild of the jumpy ones, the twitchy ones, the ones who assumed the worst of every shadow and lived to be frightened another night. Your nerves are not a flaw. They are an inheritance, handed down by the only ancestors who survived long enough to have children. And this is not just a feeling in your mind. It is physically wired into your body. There are special light-sensing cells in your eye that do not bother sending their signal to the part of the brain that builds pictures. They run on a private wire, straight to the amygdala, the brain's panic button, which means your brain does not treat darkness as simply the absence of light. It treats it as an emotion, as an alarm. Scientists have even put numbers on it. Sit a person in a pitch-black room and hit them with a sudden noise. Do they flinch harder than the very same person in a lit room? Every single time. And the people who jump the most in the dark are the ones who feared it most as children. Which, at last, explains the nightlight. Why is it children, above all others, who are so terrified of the dark, who need a small glow in the corner before they can close their eyes? Because for almost the entire human story, a small child, alone, in the dark, was the easiest meal in the world to take. The fear arrives right on schedule, climbing to its peak between the ages of 3 and 6, exactly when an ancient child was old enough to wander away from the fire and still far too small to fight anything back. That little lamp by the bed is not spoiling them. It is answering an alarm that is 2 million years old. But the strangest thing the dark does to us does not happen out in a cave at all. It happens in your own bed. When your eyes go blind, your brain cannot stand the empty space, so it fills the dark with a shape. And sometimes it does this while you are lying perfectly still, halfway between sleeping and waking. Every night, as you dream, your body quietly switches itself off, paralyzed, so that you cannot get up and act your dreams out. But sometimes your mind wakes up before your body is allowed to. You are awake, you cannot move a muscle, and your dreaming brain, still running in the background, paints something into the room with you. People feel a presence, a weight, something crouching on their chest, slowly pressing the air out of them. Almost half of all people will feel it at least once before they die. And here is what should give you chills. Cultures that never met, living on the other side of the planet from one another, all invented the very same monster to explain it. In old northern Europe, it was the mare, a demon that squats on a sleeper's chest in the night, and that ancient word is still hiding inside the one you use today, a nightmare. In Newfoundland, they call her the old hag. In Brazil, she is the pisadeira, a thin old woman with long fingernails who waits up on the rooftops for you to fall asleep on a full stomach. In Japan, an unseen force pins you flat where you lie. The same crushing weight, the same chest, the same terror, the whole world over, because underneath it is the same brain misfiring in the same way. The monster in the dark turned out to be real. It just lives inside your own skull. So what does a clever, blind, frightened, hunted little animal actually do when it cannot grow itself the eyes of a cat? It does something that no creature on Earth had ever done before. It steals a piece of the day and carries it into the night. The oldest clear trace of a tamed fire, buried deep in a cave called Wonderwork in southern Africa, is around 1 million years old. When our ancestors learned to master the flame, everything changed. A fire is a wall of light. The big cats will not cross it. For the first time in the history of life, an animal could push the darkness back on purpose, scratch a bright circle onto the ground, and say, "Inside this line, the night does not get me." Around that flame, we could finally do something our ancestors had almost never been able to do safely. We could rest. We could sleep and talk and lower our guard for a few hours, while the fire kept watch on the dark for us. Every lamp, every glowing screen, every porch light you have ever flicked on in your life is a direct descendant of that first tamed flame. Because this is what we forget, sealed up inside our bright and humming houses. Electric light is barely a century and a half old. For more than 99% of the human story, when the sun went down, the world did not simply dim, it went black. Total, depthless, predator-filled black every night, for every life that had ever been lived. So, is your fear of the dark really a childish flaw you failed to outgrow? It is nothing of the kind. It is like a guard dog that has stood watch for 2 million years, and that nobody ever thought to tell that the leopards are gone. So tonight, when your hand finds the switch before you can think, or that cold prickle climbs the back of your neck on the stairs, do not be embarrassed by it. That is not weakness. That is the oldest and most loyal part of you, still on its feet, still keeping watch in the dark. The monsters finally left. Your guard never did.